Okay, so what we have here is a very basic web page, a very basic web page, and let's see, where should we start? Okay, well, first let's take a look at it. It's a starting point at any rate. So here it is. And it's not much, right? It's not much. So we have something here. It says, this is my header, shoes, TV, furniture. This is my footer. All right. Now, let's just explore these tags a little bit. So this is the start of, here's a tag. And it used to be that where you see this HTML there used to be a various different long convoluted, well, in programming we call them strings, essentially the variable that would go in there. And it's not really a variable, I guess you could call it a setting or a property. They had different ones and they were confusing and strange. Now you just put in HTML and that means HTML5. It's the newest thing. That's all you have to do in terms of the doc type. Okay. Okay. Now here's the head tag and here's the end of the head tag. The stuff that goes in here, I guess you could say it's somewhat configuration related. And there are a few elements that I've included that you should type them in and you should include them, even though we're not going to even though they're not that significant yet. The danger is that later you will not modify this part. As we get going in these different videos, there are later on we'll need some of these tags, but so I just figured I'd put them in here now because you will need them. Okay, for example, this one, it relates to the viewport, and that is the width and the size of the device that is viewing the web page. Is it a phone? Is it a tablet? Or alternatively, if you've got a browser, how wide does the person have their browser? How wide is it? Do they have it open all the way? So that's really important. But not just yet, because later we're going to cover what's called responsive design. And so-called responsive design, it's a term which relates to creating a web page such that it twists and turns and responds. It responds to the size of the device that is viewing the web page. Okay? So we don't need it just yet, but go ahead and put it in there because in the future you're going to need it, and I'm afraid you'll forget it. Or you'll forget, or I'm afraid I'll forget to tell you. Okay, so here we have a link tag, and it is a style sheet. Again, keep all these things in there even though we don't need them yet. And I call it Rob's Custom. I called it custom because later on we're going to learn how to include the framework, the CSS files from various CSS frameworks. Okay, and there's some of them out there that are very useful. They're very useful for a number of different reasons. You don't have to have them, and there's a couple sites I did recently, and I just didn't use a framework, but whatever. So I called it custom. And we're going to take a look at that in a second. So there's the end of the head file, or the head. There's the end of the head section, and there's So here's the starting tag, and here's the opening tag, and here's the closing tag. And here we have down here, we have the body. Okay, now, everything between this start body tag and this close body tag, that is what people are going to see. Okay, that's what people are going to see. And this is, it's the stuff in here that our CSS file and our various CSS tags in our CSS file, which is right here, okay, will modify. Okay, our CSS file is going to modify these tags, what occurs inside of them, the size of them, the width, the background color, the shape, even the borders, all sorts of different things, including the fonts, everything. A lot of, the name CSS, Cascading Style Sheets, it's a bit of a misnomer. It's really not the best name, I don't think, because it's so much more than style. Style gives me a sense of, merely dealing with something like color, etc., or maybe, a tassel or something that's frivolous or not necessary. But it's not the truth. We should call them cascading structure or blueprint sheets. They should call it blueprint, because in a lot of ways it's as important as HTML itself, right? So indeed, mastering CSS is necessary to mastering web development, at least for the front end. If you can get that, wow, it's really good. Okay. So now I have these div tags. And well, what's a div tag? A div tag is merely, it's your most basic fundamental tag that you can have in HTML. Okay? And now, what we want to do is we want to modify the size of our div tags. We want to modify its layout and position on the page. Maybe we want to add some color to the background and a border, etc. You can see that I have done that here. I've given each one of these products, I'll call them product box. I have given a certain width to the box. So this is the tag. You see this square here? In fact, that is the tag. But I've changed it by giving that tag a width and giving it a height and giving it a border. And we're going to talk a little bit about that we're going to talk more than a little bit about it, but now we'll go on to the next video regarding targeting these different tags. Here we have a tag, and I identify it with an ID, which is something unique. And here we have a class. A class, we can have many different tags with the same class. It will make it much more efficient for us to target a group of tags with just one label if the settings we want to apply to all those tags are the same, right? And here I've targeted this tag, this div tag, with and I should actually, this should be there. Okay, with an ID of footer. Okay. So again, with these videos, there are a number of different. This will be part 1 of however many, and then you just go to number 2. So I'll see you in number 2 video.